in Germany. So our recording has started. Jacob, good evening and welcome.
Yeah, good evening and thank you once again for the opportunity to be here.
All right. We are starting the conversation this evening. I know most of us have seen your name already, but I will ask that in about a minute or two, you kindly introduce yourself so that we can understand the perspective from which you'll be addressing us from. Thank you.
Okay, thank you also. My name is Jacob Kingsley Amwa. I come from Cape Coast, in Ghana. And then I was a student in the Publishing Studies Department at Kwame Nkrumah University of Science and Technology. So somewhere around after school 2018, during my national service, I had already made a plan to further my studies in Germany. And then there was one secret I found that changed the whole process and the whole approach to finding the opportunity here in Germany. And ever since I felt, we always have the answer at our doorstep, but some way, somehow, we tend to look otherwise, thinking maybe sometimes the solution is simple, guys, but we feel it has to be a little complicated. So moving to Germany, I did study a master program in media and communication science. And after finishing school, which was in November 2021, I'm now working with an IT consulting company in Berlin as a digital support specialist. So yeah, I'm here to give you what I know about the education process here in Germany. And also, if you have any questions, ones which I cannot answer, I would still try to give you a lead as to how you would be able to find that answer. So hopefully you would surely leave here with some valuable information. Yeah, thank you.
Wow, interesting. Before we get into the conversation, I would like to dig a little deeper about your background. What did you study in KNUST?
I did publishing studies.
Publishing studies.
Yeah.
Wow, that's amazing. From publishing studies now to working with an IT company. So
Yeah.
this is just to reiterate to all members here that, when they say you have to be in IT, does not mean that you have to be coding, you have to be doing programming, statistics or whatever, but you can play a critical role in IT, despite the fact that you may not have studied computer science or computer engineering. And I've always said that in Ghana, we tend to trivialize most of the programs of study. They think that if you don't study medicine, law, and engineering, you are not part of the, if you like, the graduates of Ghana or those who went to university. But the truth is that there are smart ways. And I like the fact that Jacob said when he was doing his national service, he found a smart way, a trick, a shortcut. And that is what he's actually coming to to share with us today. So what was that trick you found, Jacob, during your national service that fast track your process to study in Germany?
Yeah, so the whole key is there is this institution called the Goethe Institute in Ghana.
Okay.
Now, this Goethe Institute is a German institute which contains it, like in the same venue is housed a German organization called the DAAD, which is the German Academic Exchange Organization, which was set up somewhere in 1925. And they are responsible for promoting, education in Germany, both to people who are in Germany and also outside Germany, as well as trying to make provisions for funding for students who are outside Germany and would love to move to Germany to study. But the thing is, usually, because of the situation we have in Ghana, we tend so much not to believe in institutions, but believe me, these people, they spend a lot of millions on these organizations. So, they are there to perform a specific work. And so this getting into contact with DAAD helped me a lot in the sense that I was able to get first-hand information, and all of this is free. They would take their time to, show you what everything you need to do at a certain step. But of course, you also have to go there being prepared. So I mean, this whole key is with the DAAD. But then of course, before that, there are things you would also have to know on your own, and also you'd also need to be prepared for.
Wow. Thank you so much. Yeah, the White Institute, is it the one at Cantonment? Around?
Exactly, yeah.
Oh, okay,
I
okay.
think it's around NAFTI or so.
Yeah, the
Yeah,
NAFTA,
NAFTI.
yeah.
Yeah, yeah.
I remember in somewhere 2018, 2019, I attended a program there. They had so many crowds, but
Yeah,
I
yeah.
didn't go there for study abroad issues. We're having a
Oh, okay.
wiki, yeah. So what support did you get from the
Well,
institute or the DAD that you
yeah.
messaged to facilitate your application?
So personally for me, what happened was, after visiting DAD, initially, to apply for schools, you need to look for the schools and, just going on to Google to type schools in Germany or something, you are going to get over hundreds of them. And then you need to go through each one of them. It takes a whole lot of time, which sometimes can make you decide to do it later, and then maybe you forget. So what happened was, from the DAD, I was able to get access to a certain portal, and with this portal, what happens is you are able to see the list of schools which are specifically open for international students.
Wow.
So you are able to make this filter, and also you are able to make your language selections, because then not every program is being taught in English.
In
Some
English.
programs are being taught in German, and there are some programs which would be taught in English, but then you might still need to do something in
For
German.
now. But I don't want to play the music again. So that I can go back.
Yeah, sorry about that,
Yeah,
Jacob. I think some people are not muted.
yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, it's okay. Yeah. So yeah, basically
Yeah. Hello, Jacob. Kindly unmute
ah,
yourself now. Okay. Yeah.
oh, okay. Yeah.
Sorry about that.
Yeah, so I was saying I would share with you guys this DAD portal where you can begin your search for the German schools.
Okay.
And yeah, from there you also get a lot of information as to the exact requirements these schools would need, and also some information about the finance in regarding those schools, because schools in different cities or towns would give you different living expenses. But then I think we would also come to that when it comes to, how to cover or secure your living expenses if you want to come study here in Germany.
Sure, sure, sure. That's definitely very true and very good. But in terms of the requirements for admission, what are some of the general requirements, maybe without going into details? Do you have to have English proficiency, German proficiency, any standardized score, external exams, or whatever the case may be?
Yeah, so what happens is, um, initially from my time, we didn't need the English proficiency, because then I only needed the letter from the English department in KNUST to show that I studied from my, basic, primary, secondary, and tertiary all in English. So I am proficient in English. But I think the rules are changed now, and now a lot of the schools are requiring one to write the English proficiency exam.
Okay.
However, it's not. it's not a requirement before you can apply for the school,
Okay.
but it's a requirement before you can register. You can register for the school. So there are two different situations we are talking about here. When you've had the admission, is a separate thing. Now, when you have the admission and you are here in Germany, you need to register for the school itself. The admission is different from the registration.
Okay.
So during this registration, they would require you to submit the English proficiency exam if they did not previously ask you to submit it during your application.
Process.
Yeah, and so please, guys, do not be tricked. Probably you might not have it as a requirement when you are applying for the school, but surely when you get here, you would be asked for it. And you know, I know a lot of people who came here in such situations, and then they go to the academic registration office to register their studies, and then they are told, no, we need your English proficiency, and then they have to book the English proficiency exam somewhere, and it could, you know, create a lot of inconveniences for you, because then maybe you would have to travel and all this kind of stuff. So I feel if you have the time and resources to do it in Ghana, then I think it would be the best way to go about it.
Okay. And then with what you just said, admission different from registration. I think this will be the third time we will be talking about this year. In fact, one of our earlier speakers, Dr. Abubile mentioned that if even during the application process, you can even get into conversation with the school, make an agreement with them, let them understand that you are willing to write the English proficiency test or whatever test is required of you, but you just want to be sure that what you have at the moment qualifies you for admission, but what is deficit is what is the English proficiency. Then you can go ahead and then register for that one and go. And sometimes we may think that it is expensive, but the truth is that the investment is worth it. Whether it's 3,000, 4,000, 5,000, is a sacrifice you have to make. And though I didn't write English, no, okay, I wrote one, but mine was a little not expensive. I wrote Duolingo, which at the time I think was $49 or something. But I mean, $49 at the time was money in Ghana, but I felt it was worth the sacrifice I'm going to do, because it was an investment I was making into myself. So which type of English proficiency is usually asked? Do they have a preferred one, or they just give you the chance to?
Yeah, they just give you the chance to. So usually you have to write the TOEFL or the IELTS, but you could find a school which would, you know, demand for a specific English test.
Yes.
Yeah, so I mean, one thing I would also like you guys to be very aware of is the fact that, you know, different schools might require you to submit different documents. There are even some schools that when it comes to the application, you are not able to submit your application online. So you'd have to send your document by post. So I think you should also look out for these things to see which ones what you would have to do at a particular point in time.
Yeah, that's very true. And I did not attempt to apply to Germany because I had the perception that before I could go to Germany to study, I needed to have proficiency in German. Is that correct?
Yeah, it's really good you brought this up, because I think it's something a lot of people think, you know, but anyway, that's not the case. Yeah,
Wow.
because Germany is home to a lot of international students, and um, English is the language of instruction. For example, I did study the whole of my master program in English, although the same course is also available in German. Yeah, so you don't need German proficiency before you can study in Germany. However, it is very important for you to learn German once you are here in Germany.
Okay.
In the sense that if you are not able to speak German, it's fine, but then you know that your opportunities are limited. But the key to surviving here in Germany is learning the language, because with the language, even when you do not really have any specific skills at a certain point in time, it could open so many opportunities for you.
Okay.
So yeah, that's with respect to the language. You don't need it before you apply for the school, but if you apply and by grace you're able to get here, then you know that it's something you really have to pay attention to.
All right. And the German language, is it something that you take it as part of your studies, or you have to register that one on separate, like separately by yourself?
Okay, well, so I think one thing is, first you could just apply to study German here, just to study the language.
Okay.
Usually it's a way some people try to use to get into Germany,
Okay.
but yeah, the thing with the language is that when you are coming here specifically for a language course, there's a different visa. So it would come along with some restrictions, like you wouldn't be able to work when you are in Germany because you are studying just
The
a
language.
language program. Exactly.
Okay.
But when you are here, for example, for bachelor's, master's, or PhD, what happens is there's universities, or the universities themselves do offer these programs, do offer the language programs for free.
Okay.
Yeah, but since it's free, it's being done at a slower pace, but then it's a very good opportunity for you to grab some basics in the language. Yeah. So what happens is you don't have to pay for it. Since one thing I think you guys should also notice that 99% of the schools here, the German universities here, are also free. So
Wow.
you do not need to pay any school fees. But however, there's a certain amount of money you need to pay every semester. I don't know if I can explain that.
Yeah, sure. I wanted to come to that because I hear a lot of people say when they mention Europe, they said Germany, for example, is a free destination country, like choosing free destination for
Yeah.
international students. So I wanted to, that would have been my next question. So can you explain
Yeah,
that?
great. Yeah. So what happens is you do not pay any school fees here in Germany. But what happens is every month you would have to pay what we call a semester fee. Now, what this semester fee is for is that with this semester fee, you are able to secure a pass. So the pass is in the form of a card, like your student ID. And with this, whenever you take a train, a bus, or a tram within the state in which your university is located, you do not have to pay for any transportation. You just have to show your card to the train conductor. So it's more or less like you pay something small for transport, although it wouldn't be able to cover you for the whole semester if you were to use that money to purchase a ticket on your own. So you give something little, and then the government, subsidizes it for you. So usually that's the money you would have to pay, and even with this, it's being paid per semester. And the difference here is that your town or city in which your school is would show which amount of money you'd have to pay. So, for example, I had my study in a state called Thuringia, and specifically in a town called Elmenau. Yeah, it's a very small place, but then it has one of the best universities here in Germany. During my time, I think we were paying around 160 euros thereabout for this semester fee. But in places like Berlin, for example, you could pay up to like 200 euros, because then transportation in Berlin is of course more expensive.
Expensive.
Yeah, so to study in Germany whilst you are in school, this is one thing you would have to bear in mind. Aside that, that's the only obligation when it comes to money you'd have to pay to the school. Aside that, I mean, any other thing that you'd have to pay for in school, it's a surplus stuff, and yeah, it's not something general which everyone would have to pay. Maybe then it applies to you specifically, but yeah, usually that's the main cost to incur during your period in the school.
Wow, this is interesting.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think I've looked at it before and I've seen some of those monies. But maybe when I was in Ghana, if I see the 360 euros or 160 euros, I quickly convert it into Ghana TVs and those things. But is it the case that if you are there as an international student, you can work to raise that money to pay?
Exactly. I think one thing for me that also made me consider work schooling here in Germany is the opportunity to work. So you are able to work um 20 hours, sorry, 120 hour. I mean, they have the specifications, it's in the visa and stuff, but the whole point is you are able to work also when you are here in Germany. So I think there is more explanation I would give to this, but I think it's best if it comes after we answer a certain question. I think someone has a question in the
Okay,
chat
in the
which
chat.
I feel like it should be
All right,
addressed. It
all right,
it
no
has to
problem.
do with
So yeah,
securing,
the proof
yeah,
of
the
funds.
proof of funding.
Yeah.
Exactly. So what happens is to finance your study here in Germany, the most common way of funding your studies as an international student here in Germany is what we call the blocked account.
Plot accounts.
Now, yes. Now, what this blocked account is, the purpose of this blocked account is that since you are not going to pay any school fees, but still the government is interested in knowing how you are going to pay for your living expenses for your first year in Germany. Because then when you are here, you need to have health insurance, you need to rent, you need to be able to buy foodstuffs. I mean, you need to be able to cater for your basics. So for the government to be, for you to give an assurance to the government that you have the necessary funds to take care of yourself for the period of 1 year, you are supposed to deposit a certain amount of money into what we call the blocked account. Now, what happens is you create this blocked account with a bank here in Germany, and they will create the account for you and give you the account number. So when the registration is complete, you would have to transfer the specified amount. Fortunately for me, at during my period, which was around 2018, I did apply for the visa 2018. Yeah, what happened was the fee was less. It was around, I think, 8,000 something euros, and the exchange rate was also favorable, a little favorable. Yeah, but I think now, as of October 2022, this blocked account money stands at 11,200 euros, and yeah, you would have to transfer the Ghana CD equivalent into this blocked account. Now, what happens is when you get here into Germany, the bank is going to pay out the money that you have in the blocked account, because then the money is for you. The bank wouldn't take your money.
Okay.
So what happens is every month the bank gives you a certain portion of this your 11,200 euros. So they give it to you in such a way, let's say 934 euros every month. So they will give it to you for a period of 1 year until this money is completely finished with the bank.
Wow.
Yeah. So usually that is the most common method when it comes to securing or showing your proof of funds as an international student.
Yeah.
Now, the second way is that you need what we call a commitment letter.
Okay.
Yes. And this commitment letter is when probably you have decided that, well, maybe you wouldn't be able to pay the money for the blocked account. So you would want to opt for this commitment letter. Now, the commitment letter is that you would need someone who has a permanent residency here in Germany to submit a letter to the German immigration authority that, or maybe I'm related to Mr. So and so, and since I have a relation with this person and this person is coming to Germany, I would like to take care of this person.
Okay.
So yes, with this letter, the person has committed or has made a commitment or a pledge to the government that they are going to be responsible for your living expenses when you are here in Germany. So now when you have any relative or someone you know in Germany who is able to put in this letter for you, then you don't need to pay for the blocked account. You
Okay.
just need to apply for the visa straight, and then you apply for the visa straight, and then the processes go on. One thing I would like to tell you about this, yeah, I think it's a little time we go into the dark side. Yeah, one thing I would like to tell you guys about this letter of commitment is that, you see, officially it has to be a relative or someone in Germany who is willingly committed to, help you with your living expenses when you are here. But then you know how it goes. Yeah, there are people here in Germany, especially, most people from Ghana who have been here for 10 years, 20 years, and they have the permanent residency here.
Okay.
One thing is, the dark side is they have this as some kind of backdoor business,
Okay.
So instead of you to have deposited, let's say, the 11,200 euros into a blocked account and all, they can decide to charge you, let's say, 3,000 euros.
Okay.
Then they would put in this letter of commitment for you.
For you.
But now the problem is, when you get to Germany, they don't know you because it's purely for business. We did it for business. You've
Yeah.
already paid them. They've given you the letter. That's what you want. So when you get here, you're on your own. Now the thing is, if you are lucky enough and you get here, within the next maybe 1 month, 2 months, you could get a student job.
Yeah.
And yeah, you could get a student job which could pay you as much as 1,000, 2,005 euros per month. And also considering that the living expenses here in Germany isn't really high, you would still, you'd be able to make enough money to take care of your basic stuff, pay your rent and stuff, and you would be okay. But then there are people that I personally know who came in through this method, and then one way or the other, their job processes delay, and then they are not getting jobs, and then they have to pay for rent, and then they have to ask people for money and all this stuff. So yeah, that's another side to it, and it could really be uncomfortable. But if you are willing to take the risk, maybe some people like it that way. Yeah, but I
Yeah.
mean, for you to also be comfortable and be here in a clear mind, I mean, if you happen to be able to do it in a more appropriate way, then it's also fine.
It's also fine.
Yeah.
Okay. All right. So that's what I was coming to ask, whether someone who is there, but the person who is there, does the person have to have a certain amount of money in their bank before they can give the letter of commitment or something?
Yeah, sure.
Okay. Okay.
Yeah.
And
But usually they don't, yeah, they should have a substantial amount of money in the account, but
yeah.
usually they don't give a specific figure for it, because then obviously when you are one of those benefits, when you are a permanent resident, yeah, you get to bypass certain checks.
Okay. All right, that's true. And so so the last part, okay, so you've answered about the transferring the money. Okay, then when you are successful, then as for the visa application, that one they will help you, or the
Yeah.
invitation for the visa would clarify those issues for you. When you're going for visa to study in Germany, do you go for interview?
Yeah, of course you do.
Okay.
And guys, it's I don't know how to say it, but then it's very difficult getting an appointment.
Really?
Yeah, it's very difficult getting an appointment. So what happens is, for the Germans, they like things very orderly. One should be one, two should be two, that way. So they try to prevent situations where, for example, at the American embassy, you have a lot of people there on one day or something. So
Yeah,
with the
yeah.
German embassy, for example, a day they could attend to maybe just 5 to 10 people.
Wow.
So it's very difficult for you to get the sorry, get the appointment. Yeah. So what happened for my time? What happened was it was just one dawn. I had just woken up to go to the washroom, and then when I came back, I just picked my phone and I was like, let me check to see if there will be a place.
The place.
And surprisingly, it seems someone had just dropped the appointment for a certain day, and then I had it. Even with that, it was around, I think, 7 o'clock a.m. or so. Yeah, so
Wow.
that's the thing. For if you've also had your school and you would like to proceed to apply for the visa, one thing you need to keep in mind is that you need to constantly check the visa appointment page. You need to if you are not getting an appointment, you need to check 247. Yeah, you would surely find one, but then it depends on how active you are.
You are. Wow. That's interesting. How about the DAT scholarship? I know that one is more or less like a bilateral or government's agreement scholarships.
Yeah. So what happens is, for the DAT scholarship, they have their own specific scholarship database.
Okay.
So this is one thing which, if you are to contact them, they would be very glad to help you with, because guys, that's the job they do. They are paid big money to do this job. So we need to go to them. When you have contacted them, sometimes they do have this event seminars. So you could have maybe a professor from a university here in Germany coming specifically to speak to the students, or people who are willing to, or who would want to apply for schools here in Germany.
Germany.
Yeah. So,
Okay.
but the thing is, the scholarships that they offer do not cover for every program or every school here in Germany.
Okay.
It could cover for some schools, and also even in those schools, it could apply to just specific scholarships. And yeah, I would say they have a very, they have a very strict criteria for
Selection.
that scholarship. Yeah, because they invest a lot of money into it, and so yeah, they need to make sure the necessary work goes into it.
Yeah.
Yeah, but
And
one thing
and that's
also with the
and that
scholarship,
scholarship too. And then when you are done, you have to go back to your home country.
no,
Okay.
the thing with Germany after school is that
Mhm.
when you have finished school here in Germany,
Okay.
the government gives you an 18-month visa,
Okay.
which we call the job seeking employment visa. Yeah, employment seeking visa.
Okay.
Now, with this visa, after your schooling, you don't have to go back, because the government says, hey, no, you've been here for 2 years, 3 years, 4 years to study here, free education, enjoyed all the facilities. We won't allow you to take the knowledge elsewhere. So what happens is, they try to give you the chance to be able to stay here. So with this 18-month visa, you can quickly begin to apply for a job. And if you are able to get a job within this 18-month period, then that's fine. After getting the job, maybe you can decide to exhaust or use the rest of your 18-month period before applying for a proper work permit.
Okay.
Or yeah, or maybe, to have things in a much better order, so that just in case there's something wrong elsewhere, you still have time to do other stuff. Once you get a job, and then you have to, make the application for your work permit. So what happens is, after school, after your after your graduation, you need to submit your certificate and then, some other required documents to the immigration authority, and then they issue this 18-month visa for you to stay here in Germany and look for a job. It is only when you have exceeded this 18 months and then you still don't have a job,
Okay.
yeah, that's when you would have to go back.
Go. Wow. That's interesting. So let's go back to the student job or getting job as a student in Germany. What are some of the jobs students can get? Must the jobs be on campus? Must the job be related to your area of study? Yeah, how
No,
many hours can you work and those things?
yeah, so what happens is when you are a student, you have a wide variety of jobs open to you.
Okay.
But then usually for students, we are more into the services like the delivery jobs, the warehouse jobs, and they do pay a lot. But this is where we get back to the German language, because then assuming you get a job as a shop attendant,
Okay.
you are going to have a lot of people who come into the shop speaking German. So if you are not
Yeah.
able to speak German, how are you going to do the job? So for this situation, for those of us who found ourselves in this situation, the most appropriate jobs for us was to work in, say, Amazon or DHL, these kind of warehouse jobs where you don't really need much to
German.
speak the language to work, of course. And yeah, aside that, if you happen to be in the bigger cities like Berlin, Düsseldorf, Frankfurt, where there's a large English speaking population,
Okay.
then maybe you could also get a job in a restaurant and all these stuff, because there's a huge international community in those areas. You might find maybe a Ghanaian who has opened a restaurant somewhere and is looking for people to work with, or stuff like that. But if you happen to be in my shoes, just as I had my admission in a university in a very small place here in Germany, and then we had to take a train, sometimes 2 to 3 hours before we could get to the workplace. And
Wow.
yeah, it was a bit difficult, but then man, it's all part of the experience.
Part of the experience is true.
Yeah, sure.
Wow. Wow. But how difficult or easy is it for one to get job after school during your work permit or your work search visa? If I have the work search visa, how difficult or easy is it for me to get a job? And is it possible that someone can use the 18 months and search and not get a job?
Well, yeah, it has happened. A lot of people use the 18 months, they do not get a job, and to avoid going back, what they do is they reapply for a second master's.
Okay.
Yeah, so they become student again, but then yeah, that's their only way out. But the thing is that you could also apply and obviously get a job. I did my thesis, I did my master thesis defense on 31st November 2021. Then I had my graduation in February 2022, and then in July 2022 I had a job.
Wow.
So yeah, the main thing is, once again, if you are to have some form of knowledge of the German language, then I bet you would have a lot of jobs to apply to.
To apply to.
But yeah, let me not make it look like without the language you can't do anything. But in a way, it's true. But then you could also survive with the English. So the main thing is that you need to be very consistent in the job search, because there is a very huge deficit in the workforce labor here in Germany. I know Canada, you also have this same problem. And the thing is, there are a lot of people who are constantly looking for jobs here in Germany. A lot of people. Even recently, there are some people I've met who came straight from Ghana or Nigeria straight to Germany for work purposes. So it's not just those of us here in Germany applying for the jobs. There are people who are outside and also applying for the jobs also. And one thing is that, usually what happens is a lot of people do apply for the school, they apply for the jobs maybe 5 times, 6 times, they get some rejection notice and then they give up.
They give up.
Yeah, but man, it's part of the process. The rejections would make you sit down to, you know, do some form of self-reflection. Let me use my situation as an example. After having my first rejection, after going through about 5 series of interviews, then I had my first rejection. But I just had to sit down and see which way can I build my CV to make it more aligned with what I'm looking for, with these things. Then I had to optimize my CV, try to look into new approaches of answering interview questions. And within the period in which I had my job, I was in contact with about 3 or 4 companies, and there were some I even had to decline them the interviews because I'd already made my decision the company I was going to work for. So yeah, it's possible, 100% possible for you to get a job after school here in Germany.
Wow.
Yeah.
This is interesting. So I know that you also said that within the 18 months, you can apply for proper work permit or work permit, or you can wait till after the 18 months, then you can apply for the work permit. So if you're applying for that work permit within the 18 months or after the 18 months, do you need to have a job offer to apply for the job permit after your 18 months or within the 18 months?
Yeah, so whichever way it is, you need to have a job offer before you could apply for um the work permit. Yeah.
Okay.
And one thing that makes it important for you to even apply for this work permit in time is that when you have submitted your documents or stuff for a work permit, your documents, for example, your work contract and your salary stuff would have to be checked by what we call the German Federal Employment Agency.
Okay.
So this employment agency has also realized that, there are a lot of companies here in Germany who are taking advantage of international students who come to Germany.
Yeah.
Because they know that, probably for someone coming from, let me use the word they use, a third country. Yeah, they have a term like that. Yeah, they know people like that. We could be very brilliant, but then when we get here, it's like the little you give us, we will take it like that. So a lot of companies tend to use this to exploit people by underpaying them. So for the German Federal Employment Agency to make sure that your pay matches what on the average a German would receive if he or she were to be in the same position, then now your document would have to go through this agency. So that is where they could make a decision that, oh, we think your salary does not match your job title. So then that would mean that either you'd have to talk to your company to give you a salary raise, or you would now have to look for a new job which would match the salary requirement.
Your salary requirement.
Yeah. So that's that. But then if you wait until this 18 months, when you have a job earlier and you wait until the 18 months is over, and then now you have this issue, you would still be allowed to stay in Germany, but then be on this kind of temporal permit where you are not allowed to work.
To work or
Yeah. And so just imagine you having to sit out from your company maybe 2 or 3 months for your visa to be processed. Probably they wouldn't also wait for you.
for
So
you, yeah.
yeah, that's that. So the earlier the better
The
always.
earlier the better. Wow, this is interesting. How about those of us that want to Japan, who want to run away forever, forever, forever? How long can I work in Germany before I can apply for permanent residence, or how can I get my permanent residence while studying as a student?
Well, for Germany, always it has to be after school.
Okay.
So what happened is initially when you have completed school, 5 years after you complete schooling, then you could apply for the what we call the settlement permit.
Okay.
Yes. So usually what happens is this could take you between 5 to 8 years, also depending on your German proficiency.
Okay.
So that's why I say learning German here is key to so many stuff, because if you can speak very, very, very good German, let's say B1, B2 level, then you don't have to wait for 8 years before you get a settlement permit. You can get this in as less as maybe 4 years, 3 to 4 years after you complete school. So what happens is with this 5 years or so, we are talking about 5 to 8 years for you to get the settlement permit. Your schooling years, it's excluded.
Okay.
Yes, but I think now the government is making more plans on trying to retain people here.
Wow.
So yes, so they are trying to make some amends to this settlement permit, so then you don't have to wait for a very long time. Yeah. So as a fast track, usually as a fast track, one of the things that will fast track your application for a settlement permit is especially when you have schooled here in Germany for a while,
Okay.
or maybe you have worked here in Germany for a while, because then they know that you are quite familiar with their social systems, and you know you have the right insight when it comes to integration to be able to integrate properly into the German environment.
Environment.
Yeah.
Okay. Wow. And how about marriage? If a student marry a German citizen, what happens? Do they become citizens? Do they continue the school, or they can
Yeah.
we
So
get
when
their
you
settlement?
have married someone with German citizenship, yeah, then obviously you would also be moved on to the German citizenship. But then it takes a while.
Okay.
Yeah, it takes a while, because I think when you are married, it takes around 3 years or so,
Mm,
yeah, before they issue you like a proper settlement permit because of marriage purposes.
okay.
Yeah, so that 3 months gap is just to make sure it's a proper marriage that's going to hold, and just for them to do their investigative stuff.
Oh, so
Yeah,
that it doesn't look like it was an arrangement you did or something.
exactly. Yeah.
Okay. Okay. And one last question on social life. How are
Mhm.
students student social life like in Germany? Is it something that a lot of fun outside, little or dependent, whatever?
Well, people do say that in Germany we have no fun. It's work, work, work. But then I say somehow it could be true, because Germans are quite, I wouldn't say they are reserved, but then they have a very closed circle. in the sense that if you are not really friends with a German,
Okay.
it's hard for you to have any kind of fun or anything, even to even have a simple conversation with them. It's very hard.
Difficult.
Yeah, it's very difficult. So when you are in Germany and probably, I mean, now the good thing we have is there are a lot of African communities in most places you go in Germany. And then again, also for me, speaking for my experience, I was on where I had my education and my first experience in Germany was in the eastern side of Germany.
Okay.
And I don't if there are some of you here who are quite familiar with German history. You know this divide about the West Germany and the East Germany. So things are different in those areas.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. So in the Eastern Germany, that is where you kind of find, the typical German environment.
Environment.
Yeah, where everyone is speaking German, and yeah, when you speak English, everyone is looking at you. Uh-huh. So it's quite different when it comes to dealing in Eastern Germany. But then of course, if you get to find people in um other internationals who also come, if you're able to make friends with them, of course, Germany, when it comes to facilities for having fun, there are a lot.
Yeah,
If
a
you
lot.
want to go to a stadium to watch a match, go to a concert and all this stuff, they are there. But then, it's not just the facility that provides the fun, but the company you also have.
Yeah.
Yeah. So I mean, that's also one thing, if you would happen to be in the company of maybe your small African community, fine, you could have a lot of fun with them and
Mm.
all. Yeah. Experiencing good social life in Germany as a student is hard.
Wow.
Yeah. But surely when you finish school and then you are now in the job market, you have a job and this kind of stuff, then it changes because then you get to meet people, different people, and more internationals who are more open and more outgoing.
Mm.
Yeah.
Okay. And then how is their curriculum like? Is it the Q and Po as usual we do in Ghana, the workload or the course load? How is it like
Mhm.
compared to Ghana?
Yeah. So I think one of the things that also gave me a different perspective into education in Germany is how they approach their education. It's very research intensive,
Mm.
very research intensive. So this program that I did, for example, media and communication, but in Ghana, for example, we have media and communication studies,
Okay.
but what I did here is media and communication science.
Okay.
So the difference is, for example, in the media and communication studies, let me just use one media theory as an example. There's this thing we call agenda setting.
Okay.
When you are doing the media and communication studies, okay, the teacher tells you, okay, we have agenda setting. This is what agenda setting is. These are ways in which you can identify if agenda setting is in place. This basic stuff.
Yeah.
But then in media and communication science, what we first learn is why agenda setting in the first place.
Yes.
Who came up with agenda setting? How has the theory developed from when it was first brought up till now?
Now.
Now with so it's more it's not like the teacher coming to give you some 1 or 2 3 points and then it's gone.
Yes.
It's more research intensive. So you'd have to conduct some research, do some research project. And for my program, for example, we never wrote an exam.
Wow.
All our exams were in the form of presentations and
Presentation
research
project.
research papers. Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah. And the thing is, when you are applying for schools in Germany, you should also pay attention to the type of institution. in Germany here, we have what we call the Technische Universität, which
Yeah.
is the technical universities.
Okay.
The technical universities are more into science and technology, and it's heavily, heavily, heavily research based.
Mhm.
Unlike the usual universities where there's research, but then it's not really intensive as you would have it in the
Technical
technical
university.
universities. Yeah, but I think on a basic level, the education here in Germany is research based. So you would have to also do a lot of research, which requires you to do a lot of reading. So that's why I try to tell many of the guys back home that if you really want to come to Germany to study, then you must be able to take some steps in the beginning. For example, sometimes you are even helping someone to apply for a school and they would want you to write
Statement of
um
purpose for them.
yes, bro, but you know it's your statement of purpose. Why should I be the one to write a statement of purpose for you? Because then when you get here, you are going to do stuff which would be more than that. Spend hours reading, and I know many of us are not used to this kind of study in Ghana because
Yeah,
yeah, we are just used to the teacher coming to give us everything, and what the teacher doesn't say you don't write.
you don't write.
Yeah, but here anytime we meet in class, so our class is not a class, it's a seminar.
Okay.
For example, for the master program, even for the bachelor program, every class you have is a seminar. And a seminar is different from a typical class where the teacher is the only one teaching. The
Hmm.
seminar is more of a discussion. So usually before we go for the class, we've been given maybe the research topics. We're already working on a research project. So in this particular seminar, we are going to discuss
Focus
about
on a
this,
particular
and that.
something. Yeah.
Good. So before you get to class, you've already done your research and everything. So in class, we just have this kind of a discussion. And then, the professor or whoever is in charge tries to, make sure whichever perspectives we are coming from, at the end of the day, we are all aligned to the project goal. Yeah, but I feel people also learn from experiences.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
yeah, guys, don't be worried so much about the education system. Once you come here, I mean, you might have a problem or two in the beginning, but then as time goes on, you would surely get to know what the education is about and what it demands from you as well.
That one is very true. And with the application process, even some of them even tell you that just apply for any program for me.
Yeah, but
It's
it shouldn't be so. Yeah, yeah,
I will
because
not I will not even do for anyone because
yeah,
it's when they do that for you and you get to the country of destination, if you don't take time, you might likely abandon the school or you will not find the school interesting in a whole lot of things. So I think it's taking the steps to read the processes yourself and
yeah.
understand what you are signing up for is more important and helpful.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And also, there are some people I know who came here and then they didn't really have any interest in the school. They just used it as a way to get here. But then I always say that if you use education to get to Germany and you get here, do not think of abandoning the education and going to do something else. Because once you have entered with a student visa, at the end of the day, it's going to be taken into account if you are to go back to the immigration office for any kind of other documentation.
Yes.
So if you apply to come to school in Germany, and let's say you don't attend the school, and then it happens that maybe you get a girlfriend, a German girlfriend or something, and then a German boyfriend, and then you guys decide to get married or something. Now they would go back to your student visa and they will cross-check with your semester records in school to make sure that within that period you are attending the school.
Mm.
So I've had some colleagues who, they weren't really interested in the school, but after going round and round and round and round, they realized that the only way out was to complete the school. So
Complete the school.
instead of say 2 years for your masters, now you spent almost 4 to 5 years on a
Wow.
2-year master program. Yeah. So I mean, guys, when you get it shouldn't be. I know how tempting it is, for the fact that some of us just want to leave. But then you should have a purpose, because if not, it's not also all that easy here. Although we would say it's a bit better, but then if you get here without any purpose, then it's going to hurt you a lot, because being in a foreign country and not knowing what you want or what you're about, it's could be hell. It could be hell. So please avoid the mistake of just applying for any program, because at the end of the day, when you also have a job here in Germany, your job should be aligned with what you've gone to school to learn. So it should be aligned with your academic degree. So just imagine if you choose any program, and at the end of the day, this program happens not to be in line with your professional goals. And then and then maybe based on your skills or some certain achievement you have in the past, you are able to secure a job based on your skills. The Federal Employment Agency will now still reject your job because it is not matched with what you studied back in the university. So guys, please make sure that before you make any selection for a school or a program, it's something that you really see yourself having a future in it. Because if not, then you would come and spend time to study here in Germany. Then afterwards, it will be sad for you not to get a job, and then you have to go back to Ghana or something like that. Yeah.
All right. Thank you so much. So I will open the floor to participants to submit questions. This time you can put up your hand to be called, or better still, you can put it in the chat box like some have done already. But Felicia, I've seen your question or comment about the IELTS. I will get you connected to people I know who help those who want to write highlight exams, so that you speak to them. Okay. George.
Okay, thank you very much, Vasco.
Yes, sir.
Thank you very much, Mr. Jacob. I mean, that was very insightful, and I've learned so much. I heard you say that I want some clarification about the number of years that you have to get the settlement permit after you are married. I heard you say 3 months. I don't know whether you wanted to say 3 years or.
No, I think he said 3 years.
Yeah, it's 3 years. Yeah.
He said
3 years. Okay. Okay. Then my second question is about the IELTS. I wasn't part of the call at the beginning, but I wanted to find out whether the IELTS academic that we write in Ghana here, can that also be used for applying for schools in Germany, or there's another special IELTS for Germany? And what is the medium of examination in terms of the language? That's the question. Thank you very much.
So you're welcome. Yeah, so with regards to the English proficiency, I think the exam you write in Ghana is international. So you could use it to apply for as much schools as you want within the period of its validity. So what happens is if you have to write this exam here in Germany, you will still have the language proficiency in English, and the language of instruction is going to be in English. You don't have to worry about any German stuff. Yeah, it's the English proficiency you want. Yeah, so basically that's that. What you write, if you sit for a TOEFL or IELTS exam in Ghana, you could use it to apply for a school in Germany.
All right. Yeah, and as Jacob said earlier, also in the beginning, if there's any specified or specific exams they want you to take, they will specify. If they want academic, they will let you know. If they want general, they will let you know. So they will not just ask you to go and bring IELTS without specifying what kind of IELTS you should go and bring. All right. Any other question? You can put up your hand or put it in the chat box. Then we take it from there. We are getting closer. Can we use English proficiency letter from our university to apply?
This is why I said it's very tricky, in the sense that when you are applying for the school, they just need an English proficiency. They might state for you that maybe they want it from TOEFL, IELTS, and stuff like that. But during the application period, it could be that the school you are applying to doesn't deem this as a requirement before application. But then when you've had the school, you definitely need this IELTS or this internationally recognized English proficiency exam. So it's still better for you to write it in Ghana if you have the means and resources to. Yeah, because I think for now they are no longer accepting the English proficiency from our universities back in Ghana.
Okay. Someone is asking if the 18 months of the job search visa is also applicable to PhD students.
Well, usually the 18 months applies to master's, master undergraduate students. For PhD already, it's kind of considered work here in Germany. I mean, it's work. Yeah. So with PhD, you are already working. So what happens is usually those who get to hold PhD positions or they are here as PhD students, what they get is what we call the EU blue card.
Okay.
So this EU blue card is for what we call shortage of skilled workers. So there is this category of workers in Germany who the government thinks they are in demand, but then they are less in number. So with these people having this special categorization, once you are here as a PhD student, right from the onset, you could make an application for this EU blue card. So you don't have to wait for any 18 months after school or stuff like that. Usually it applies to the bachelor's and master's.
Okay. All right. That's good. Obed, your question would be answered from the school that will be asking you to do. If the school wants to give you a certain band or score, it will be indicated. I'm not sure there's a general rule for all, even with the 7 for UK or 6.5 for Canada and US, does not mean that you cannot score more than that, or you cannot score less than that and be accepted. In fact, some most competitive admissions, like even law and medicine, most of the US schools do have a lot of discretion at their disposal. Sometimes they even admit people who have not even taken any of the standardized exams, or they take the standardized exams and their scores are very poor and they still consider them. So go and read that one. Okay, Jacob, before we take our next question, can you share the link to the guide?
Yeah, to the DAD. Yeah, sure.
Yeah, so that people can all right. Any other question while she's typing that?
Yeah, so I already shared the link in the chat.
All right, thank you, George. Thank you, Jacob. So George, yeah, so go to the that portal above, you will find public health. Use the filter button buttons to get the public health schools or the schools you want. All
Yeah,
right.
I think Edward has his hand up.
Okay. Yeah, Edward, now you can unmute and ask your question.
I want to know if an applicant has an HND, can that person be enrolled as a master degree student?
If an applicant has what?
An HND.
Okay.
Can that person be enrolled into master's degree program?
Okay.
Okay, so well, in a way you could. In a way you could, but generally, for you to be able to apply for a master, then you need to have an undergraduate or like a bachelor's degree. You know, so meaning if you have an HND, then you would have to do a top up to get the bachelor's degree. But what makes me say that in a way it could be accepted is that some of the schools I wouldn't have this kind of flexible structure. You know, it's not really flexible, but then they can make certain considerations. So using myself as an example, when I did apply for my school here in Germany, they realized that the program I did back in Ghana, which was publishing studies at KNUST, it had some correlations with the master program I was about to do here, but not everything that I needed to know about the master program had been covered or was related to my undergraduate study in Ghana. So under normal circumstance, if it were to be any other different school, they would have rejected your application because then you don't meet the requirement. But then what the school did was that they have this course which we call the academic preparatory course. So with the academic preparatory course, what also happens is that the school feels you are a good candidate for this course, and maybe based on your statement of purpose and things like that, they see your desire to be in the program. They see you have some background knowledge about the program and all, but they feel you are not fully equipped to enroll in the program. So they have this academic preparatory course for you, which usually lasts for just one semester. So with this one semester, you are able to learn these courses that you were not able to learn earlier in your undergraduate. You are able to learn them before you get proper admission into the master program. So you will still be in school here, but then you would first have to do this academic preparatory course for a period of, I think, about 6 months before you get enrolled into the master program itself. That was it in my case also. Yeah, so with the HND, maybe you could try applying for the schools, but I think if the school states specifically that maybe they need your undergraduates, they need, say, a bachelor's degree or something, then you'd have to, of course, have it topped up or something. Yeah.
And also just to add to that, you the individual also applying, it depends. Someone has HND with 10 years work experience.
Exactly.
They've led many big and many projects. They're able to demonstrate by their CV and application that they know what they are talking about. Of course, that person will be different from someone who graduated with an HND and the only work experience they have is attachment and national service.
Service, yeah.
So yeah, the dynamics really vary. And George, your question whether it's difficult or easy, I think we've gone past that. There's nothing like difficult or easy. It really depends on who you are, the skills you possess, and how aggressive you are with the application. No one is coming to employ you in Germany or in any country because you're a public health person. neither will they reject you because you're a public health person. It doesn't work like that anywhere. All right, last question. Opportunity for last question. Two people hands are up. Let me see. Okay, yeah, Sophia. Sophia.
Okay, good evening. Please, my question is like this thing. Studying in Germany, how do you apply? Like, how do you write the exams? What's the name of the exams you write? And then I'm hearing master's, PhD, master's, PhD. Like, if you want to do your degree or diploma or something, can you go to Germany to study that, or unless after your first degree before?
All right, that's fine. Roger, then Jacob will just answer the two at once.
Okay, my question is, when you are applying for schools in Germany, is it good for you to apply for the school or get the school first before you apply for fund, or you go for the fund before you apply for the school?
All right, thank you. Jacob, please, over to you.
Yeah, thank you. Okay, so so first question with the degree. Yeah, you could also come to Germany to do your bachelor's, for example. You could come for a diploma or something. But the thing is, with what it is with German education is that the higher you go, the less you would need German in the education. You know, when we talk about, say, the bachelor degree level or undergraduate level, you don't have most of the courses, or you don't have more of the courses in English. So to be able to have a proper undergraduate course or something, then you would have to have some knowledge of the German language. Same when it comes to this, maybe you want to do a diploma, you know, but when you want to do, for example, a master program, because these are some of the programs that brings in usually a lot of internationals, because the Germans themselves, usually they go to school up to the bachelor's degree and then they are done. Yeah, so since the master program and the PhD, it's more suited for the internationals, you get to find a lot of these English opportunities there. But it doesn't erase the opportunity. It doesn't erase the fact that you could still have your degree, bachelor degree study in Germany. Then I think with Roger's question also, the most important thing applying to a school, or the most important thing when it comes to studying in Germany, is to first apply for the school. Because when you have applied for the school and now you have the admission, it is with the admission letter that you would then apply for your visa and then also for the funding. Because then when you are applying for the funding, you need to you need to state what the funding is going to be for. So for example, you are setting up a blocked account. You need to show your status as a prospective student, which would now be this admission letter you have. So it's very important to get a school first. And then once you have applied for the school, and let's say you have some sort of response from the school and you see it to be positive, then you begin to think about the funding. But guys, one tip also when it comes to applying to schools in Germany is that, you know, since they have a different education system, they have a different grading system, and also due to the differences in language, what happens is most of the documents we upload when applying for German schools have to be translated into the German standard. And for this, some of the schools, for this, most of the schools would have to charge you what we call a processing fee. And I think this fee could be as less as maybe 25, 30 euros, 40 euros. Yeah, usually it wouldn't exceed 50 euros. But yeah, that's the thing with also applying for the school. Have it in mind that you would have to pay this processing fee before your admission is even handled by the school.
All right. Thank you so much. Jacob, can you also do us a favor? Leave your social media handles on the chat box. Those who want to follow you or connect with you can do so.
Okay.
All right. I think we are wrapping up. We've covered most of the things for today. Yeah, the German link scholarship has been shared already. The application link shared above is the same for the scholarship. There is nothing, or there is not a specific or distinct